Hello,
Good morning. I'm Jen.
I'm Kimberly, and
And
this
this
is
is
That
that
Vegan
vegan
Morning Show.
show. Yay, we got really good at that intro.
Hooray, us. Jen, how was your weekend?
My weekend was pretty good. The first part of it was us moving our kids back to college. So Thursday night after work, I started the drive, stayed in Syracuse with a friend I've known since high school to break it up, and then finished the drive, dropped my son back off at school, and had to drive all the way back home Friday. So yeah, I got home at like 11:15 on Friday. I was very tired, so I did pretty much nothing the next day. And my husband, he needed the car to take his son to school. So while he was taking his son to school, I was recovering. And then yesterday we kind of had a leisurely morning and then hung out in Beacon and Cold Spring, which are towns in the Hudson Valley near me, and just kind of, we didn't do our usual house chores. We bought groceries. That was the extent of our
Nice.
chores yesterday.
That sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it was pretty good. How about you, Kimberly? I know you had a big weekend.
I did. I had a really great weekend. So on Saturday, I led a course or class at Ethos Farm in Long Valley, New Jersey. Good morning, Richard. Thanks for
Good
being
morning,
here.
Richard.
I led a class teaching people how to read oracle cards for themselves.
That's
And
amazing.
it
I wish I
was,
could have
I
gone.
know, I wish you could have been there too. Um, it was so great. The people in attendance were really interested. Some of them were brand new to it. Others had some decks that they had kind of bought a while ago and weren't really sure, how to use them, or had kind of dabbled a little bit but didn't have a structure to follow. And so I help them create that and get them familiar with it. And you so kindly took some photos that I sent to you, and
Yay, there it is.
yeah, and put them in a nice little collage. So yeah, this was wonderful. JP was there too, and not just to take photos and support, but he actually participated, and he had a really good time. And we had this little group here, and people asked so many questions, and it was just really awesome. And they were like, can we do a more advanced class so we can learn like deeper readings? And then we talked about crystals too, and so maybe there'll even be an intro to crystals class. I love intro classes because like watching people discover these neat things is just so much
Mhm.
fun for me.
Yeah.
So we're thinking about that. We're thinking about meditations. And so should you find yourself in the Long Valley, New Jersey area, swing by Ethos, check out their events, and maybe you can come to one that I'm doing as well.
Ethos Farms is so beautiful. I
Mhm.
went there with you when we saw our friend Angela Crawford do a book talk, and we had her on as a guest as well. A couple months in June. It was in June,
Yeah.
whatever was that. I guess almost 2 months ago ish.
Mhm.
Summer's flying right by. And it
Yeah.
was just so beautiful and peaceful there. And yeah, I can't wait to go back to hang out on
Mhm.
the farm, but also go to another event there that, one that you're leading. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's great. I'm really glad it went well.
Thank you. Yeah, and then yesterday we did do some chores. We have been not great at keeping the kitchen organized. And
Mhm.
so yesterday we focused on kind of getting rid of the stuff. The kitchen island has become a bit of a catch-all. And so we were like, we have to stop doing this. We talked about, okay, kitchen needs to be kind of sacred space because this is where we nourish ourselves. And so let's treat it that way. So we reorganized it, and then we spent some time cooking. So JP joined me in the kitchen, and he chopped some veggies and made the rice. I mean, we have a rice cooker, but he still made, went through the process of getting it in there and getting it done. And yeah, we did dishes together, and it was just we don't always do that. We kind of, we'll share or swap off with responsibilities that way. And it was just nice for the two of us to be in the kitchen together making some amazing food, which I'll actually talk about, because I used a recipe from a cookbook I'm going to talk about today.
That's awesome. Yeah, I just want to add, I'm guilty also of using like table and counter space in the kitchen as a catch-all. And I agree, like the kitchen should be a nourishing space, free from clutter.
Mhm.
So I try to do better with that. Clutter in general. I've gotten better with clutter in the house, except for the bedroom. I still have not mastered not having my clothing everywhere at some point.
I will tell you, it is possible. I never
Okay.
thought that it would be possible, but you know, I told you about that app that I use that tracks like tasks I need to get done. And every once in a while, it will pop up tasks you've done before as a suggestion for a goal you can set for the day. And one of them was pick clothes up off the floor. And when it popped up, because that used to happen at my last house all the time, we constantly had clothes on the floor, and it popped up, and I realized I don't need that. We don't have any clothes on the floor, and it was like, whoa,
Wow. Okay. I need this app. I know you've mentioned it to me before. I think I need to get it. What's the name of the
yeah.
app, Kimberly?
It's called Finch, like the
Okay.
bird
That's the one with
finch.
the bird,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
All right. I have to check that out.
It's really good. I find it motivating. You know, we're from the Tamagotchi era, and this bird won't die though, so that is really helpful. But I enjoy sending her on adventures in different countries and buying her clothes and stuff. And you can only do that if you're completing your goals. So
Wow.
that's
That
what
is
keeps me
really good
going.
motivation.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, oh yeah, oh my God, Tamagotchi pets. I did not have one, but I had a lot of friends who had one, and their lives were consumed about keeping this thing alive. So
Yep.
I remember
Yeah.
that greatly. But yeah, it's you know, this was a great intro to what we're going to talk about because we've wanted to do a cookbook review for a while. We
Hmm.
both have vegan cookbook collections, and what a great topic to talk about, but showcase some of them. Although I have to say, it was difficult choosing 3
We're going to have
cookbooks.
to do more.
We might have to do like a part 2, a part 3, a part 4.
Yep. Every couple of months, just a cookbook review so we can highlight all of our favorites.
Absolutely. And anyone watching this either now or in the future and the replay, if there's a cookbook that you would like me and Kimberly to check out and review, let us know in the comments below.
Yeah,
That would be great. Maybe we already have it.
maybe.
So, Kimberly, why don't you go first? What is
Okay.
the first cookbook that you want to share with our viewers, and
Sure.
why is it an important cookbook to you?
Okay. So the first one I want to share is Peaceful Kitchen by
Yummy.
Catherine Perez. She is a registered dietitian and she's a vegan. And the recipes here, she calls herself the plant-based RD. The recipes in this book, I got this book first at the library because the cover was so pretty.
It is a pretty cover, and maybe we'll
Yeah.
take. You know what? We should take some photos of these
Yeah.
books and put them on our Instagram.
Good
So,
idea.
yeah, we can. We'll take some photos of our Instagram and put these on our Instagram as well.
Cool. Great idea. Thank you. Um, and so I got it out from the library. I was just looking for something new and different. And we just started making a bunch of recipes, and every recipe in here was so good. And we were like floored by it.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, you can find sometimes cookbooks will have like a couple of recipes where you like go back to them over and over again, but it doesn't seem like every recipe you make is good, and every recipe in here is, as they might say, a banger. um I
I
love
need to
love
get
love
this
it.
cookbook.
Yeah, yes you do. So the recipes are also really easy, which is nice, and fairly quick, a lot of them. What I made for what we made for dinner last night was the sweet and sour tofu, which I'd actually made when you guys came over a
It's
couple months
very
ago.
good.
Thank you. And I love it so much. And then there's a hummus pasta recipe, which is hilarious that I've only made the hummus pasta recipe like a handful of times, but when I open the book, if I just like randomly open it, it always opens to the hummus pasta page. I don't
I
know
wonder
why.
why.
Yeah, I know, right? Because it's so good. And you just need like a pint of cherry tomatoes. So sorry, Jen. But you can make it, I think, with roasted red peppers would be really good too.
Yeah, oh yeah, I would
Um,
totally do that. Yeah,
yeah.
if anyone watching doesn't know, I have like a tomato sensitivity that I'm not allergic, but I got tested. But I have a mildish allergic reaction, so I avoid it.
Yeah, exactly. Um, I love to when a cookbook isn't just recipes, when there's, and you'll see this kind of theme throughout all the books that I chose. But in the beginning of this book, she talks about kind of like figuring out how to set up your plate.
I love that.
Yeah. And she gives you some like instructions of like what plant-based proteins are. So if you're new to this way of eating too, it's really helpful. Info about starches and grains, how, what's a healthy fat versus a fat that you want to maybe avoid, things about supplementation, equipment you might need in order to make these recipes or whatever, and then like grocery essentials, stocking your pantry to make sure that you have everything so that you can kind of make whatever is in this book. And the other thing too is that she reuses a lot of ingredients. So
Ooh,
I know that if I have in my kitchen tofu tempeh, limes, lemons, tahini, like lentils, beans, pasta, I can make just about any recipe in here. And like
that's
you
great.
can swap out, right? You can swap out any vegetables. So whatever veggies you have on hand, will work in most of these dishes. And that is really nice too, because how many times do you go to the store, you buy an ingredient for one recipe, and then you are like, I don't know how else to use this in anything else. And sometimes you can kind of get creative, but other times it feels very much like I don't even know what to do with this. So I like that she reuses stuff, and that really helps you clear out your pantry. So that's my first choice.
I think it sounds excellent. And the next time I buy a cookbook, I think I need to buy this one because it sounds like it's really good, especially for like those weeks where you're busy, which is like most of us working. And whether you have kids or not, during the week, we're all busy just juggling all the various tasks we have to do. And sometimes you want to eat healthy, you want to take care of yourself, but you also don't want it to be complicated. And I think there's a
Mhm.
misconception that eating healthy has to be difficult or hard or doesn't taste good.
Yeah.
And that's not true at all. And also, like, there's a misconception that vegan cooking is filled with a lot of complicated ingredients. And
Mhm.
yes, you can make it as complicated or not uncomplicated as you want, right? It's the
Yeah.
same thing as making it as healthy or as unhealthy as you want. You know, veganism is about, it's a lifestyle that's about honoring animals and not using them in any way as much as possible. Food is a big part of that. And you can make all kinds of delicious things and not miss out on anything
Yeah.
by eating it and by having simplified meals for the week when things are so busy. I think that's great. And I have bought things for recipes in the past, and then I have all these like complicated ingredients that I don't know what to do with, or I'm too lazy to do anything else with. And then it's so wasteful. So this sounds like a really resourceful cookbook, and I love how she
Yeah.
shows how to set up a good plate too. I feel like
Yeah.
that's a really important resource, whether you're a new vegan, someone who's aspiring to be vegan, or just someone who's just looking to restructure the way you eat. I feel like that just sounds like a really great book that everyone should have wherever they are.
I agree. Yeah. So tell me about your first cookbook that you've chosen.
My first cookbook is the Oh She Glows cookbook. She's got a couple of others now that have since come out. I haven't bought them. They
Mhm.
look great, but I can't buy every cookbook I look at.
Right.
I would if I could.
Same.
But so this book is very special to me because it's like blending in with the background. But there we
There
go.
we
There's a
go.
bit. I love the purple carrots. So around the time that I had started cutting out dairy, which was what led me on my journey to veganism, I noticed I felt better not having dairy for a month. I've talked about it before, how that experiment helped me really realize more so how food impacted my well-being. And cutting out dairy made me realize how crappy dairy made me feel. And so I was looking up dairy-free recipes, and a lot of vegan recipes came up. And then I started exploring vegan food because it looked exciting and delicious, and I wanted to eat
Mhm.
healthier without feeling deprived. And so this cookbook, I think it came out it came out around the same time that I was starting to like look at these things. And
Nice.
so I would see it in Barnes and Noble all the time on like the bookshelf, and it really caught my attention. And I I found her. So this is by Angela Leiden. She has a food blog called Oh She Glows. So if you go to her website, it's filled with just so many delicious recipes. And I would just follow her blog and a lot back then. And so I bought this cookbook, and this page has got all kinds of food splatters all over it.
That's the
But
best.
this lentil walnut loaf, there it is. This
Mhm.
lentil walnut loaf was a huge catalyst in just showing me all the possibilities of
Mm.
going vegan. And I have since swapped the ketchup part of it for the sauce, and I make like a beet ketchup, and I've
Mhm.
done that, and it's still delicious and good. It's a lot of ingredients. It looks intimidating, but it's really not. So I make this usually for like a holiday meal or Thanksgiving
Mhm.
sometimes, or when we've had company over and they're like, "Oh, this is pretty good." I've brought it with me to places, so it just slices up really nicely. So that's a really favorite of mine. The Another big recipe that I make in here. Did you just sneeze? Oh.
No, but I did sniffle, so thank
Oh,
you.
I thought you sneezed. I was going to say bless you. Well, bless you.
Thank you.
Then this crowd pleasing Tex Mex casserole is
Mm.
another big one that I make a lot. Um, my husband likes that a lot. He's not vegan. He's always happy when I pull this out of the oven. I have brought it to gatherings because who doesn't? It basically tastes like tacos in a dish, or like a
Mm.
taco or burrito type thing. It's
Yeah.
got like a lot of Mexican flavoring in it, and you put corn chips on top. You crumble up
Oh,
corn chips on
nice.
top. So yeah, I make it for Super Bowl, family get like it's a great anytime thing to make. I made some of the soups in here, the mushroom walnut pesto tart I made a long time ago. But the other thing that I've made that's always a hit with my non-vegan family members are these sweet potato and black bean enchiladas with avocado,
Oh,
cilantro, cream sauce. Again,
nice.
these aren't necessarily the quickest meals to make. Some of them are quicker than others, but they're not terribly difficult. And a lot of them are like recipes you would use. I hit my microphone here. A lot of them are recipes that you would use. You can reuse those ingredients easily. Like if you have
Mhm.
leftover sweet potatoes or black beans or rice,
Right.
like a lot of the staples you would have, you could easily, take the leftovers of anything and turn it into like a bowl or something.
Mhm.
But this was just a really great cookbook for me because it showed me what was possible um, eating vegan, and it was a big inspiration in my transitional journey. And I still use this cookbook when I, I want to either make something or I have a little extra time
Mm-hmm.
to make something. Like on the weekend, sometimes on the weekends, I might want to make something that takes a little longer if I have a little bit more time, or if I want to have, I need something for company or bring something over. This is a really great book for that.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I
So,
love that.
what do you have next, Kimberly?
I can't decide, and they're both from the same author. So I'll dig a little deeper into Veganomicon by,
Nice.
by my beloved Issa Chandra Moskowitz. She doesn't know that, but in case she's listening or someone wants to tell her, she's my favorite. And Terry Hope Romero, who I also love. So it's between Veganomicon and Vegan Cupcakes Take Over the World.
Ooh.
So when I tell my story about going vegetarian first, I didn't know how to cook at all, but I did know how to bake. And I, when I was vegetarian, I continued for the most part to just make vegetarian desserts until this book came out. And
Ooh.
when I started making these vegan cupcakes, which are just the greatest cupcakes I've ever made. There was not a single person, vegan, vegetarian, or otherwise, who didn't think it was the best cupcake they'd ever had. And that happened every single time I made them. And when
Mm.
people found out they were vegan, they were blown away because they didn't understand that vegan food could be so good, especially desserts. Expecting it to, some people confuse vegan with gluten free. And so they expected it to be really either like heavy or just not pleasant in the texture, because that very often can happen with gluten free baked goods. But they were all always like perfectly like light and fluffy, and the icing always perfect,
Mm.
and pretty easy, like the basic like chocolate and vanilla cupcakes with chocolate or vanilla frosting, so easy to make. And just like like I said, I love cookbooks that have a lot of information in them ahead of the recipes. She's got a section about the ingredients, and so she'll
Nice.
tell you about the different flours and the differences when you use oil or like vegetable shortening or margarine, different milks, the tools that you need, and just how to make the most amazing cupcakes. And then the same thing with Veganomicon, where she tells you how to stock your pantry.
Nice. That's
Yeah,
really helpful.
and it's like the kitchen equipment that you can use. There's a section called "Get Some Knife Skills for Free." Like explaining cooking and prepping terminology, how to do lower fat versions of recipes if you'd like, how to cook a vegetable, how to cook a grain,
Nice.
how to cook a bean. Yeah, and she breaks down like black beans, black-eyed peas, great northern beans. Like it's not like general, it's specific to a bunch of different kinds of beans. And same thing with the grains and the veggies and stuff. And then she gets into the recipes, and she always has tips along, and I keep saying she, but it's they, because it's both Issa and Terry and both of these books. So it's not just one of them. But there's a recipe in here. There's two actually that I usually make together when I'm trying to be fancy. And that's my favorite thing about this cookbook, is that there's some stuff in here where I feel super fancy when I make it. And the first one is a Caesar salad.
I
And
love Caesar salad.
oh, it's so good. And like the balance with the capers and stuff is just like perfect. And it uses tofu. So like you can't freeze it. But it's so good that it won't last long enough for you to feel like you needed to freeze it anyway. But you even make croutons with it,
Mm.
and like on little like almonds ground up for like cheese, Parmesan cheese. And then the recipe, like the entree, is it's like spicy tempeh Did I mark the right page? Spicy tempeh and broccoli rabe with rotelli. And this
Yum.
dish, oh my gosh, every time I've made it, people ask me, that's like, what kind of sausage is this? Because the tempeh takes on with the fennel that you use, it takes on a real like sausage flavor, and then the texture of it also is like crumbled sausage. And because you're using the spiral pasta, the sausage pieces, like the tempeh pieces, stick to the pasta, and then the broccoli rabe, like the little bitterness that's left in that, it like balances it all out. And every time, tempeh can be an ingredient that people are like, "What in the hell is that?" If they are not familiar with Indonesian cuisine, and when you present them just with something like, here's this tempeh, I made sausage out of it, it can seem a little weird if they're not familiar. But every time this is another one of those things where every time I've made it, no matter who I've made it for, they are floored by how good it is. And that just across the board is really what happens anytime I make a recipe, whether from a book that Isa and Terry have done together, or I have every one of Isa's books on her own and Terry's as well. But the detail and the effort that goes into making sure that you feel comfortable even in the kitchen before you even start the recipes, I love that so much. Like I said, I didn't know how to cook and I needed somebody to teach me, and I learned by using books like this.
I love your choices. I need the cupcake book, especially.
Yes,
I
you
mean, I
do.
could use both of them, but that's amazing. Tempeh is one of those ingredients I don't cook with often. It's a little intimidating to use, but it just goes to show, right? It's all about the flavorings, right? You don't need sausage from an animal to have
Right.
something that tastes like sausage in a dish, right?
Yeah.
Again, there's no deprivation as a vegan.
Right.
The challenges are more when you go eat out in a restaurant, but there are ways to navigate all of that. You get used to it. And I'd rather get used to that than contribute to animal suffering. So, but you don't need, you don't have to be deprived as a vegan. There's so many delicious things, and these cookbooks are great resources. They teach you all the different tools so you can then create your own dishes, right? Like once you know the basics. I just want to do a side note about knife skills. I didn't realize I needed knife skills until I took the Forks Over Knives cooking course that I took last year. And then I realized, oh,
Yeah.
there really is such a thing as knife skills.
Yeah, they are so important.
Yes, they are.
So tell me about your next book.
So my next book is Rawsome Vegan Baking.
Ooh.
And this is by Emily Von Eu. I guess it's EUW. So I'm guessing that is how you say her last name. It's also covered with stuff. I've only made, it's filled with, oops, hitting my microphone today. It's just filled with a lot of amazing photos in here of just different desserts that are all raw. Now with raw food, there's no baking. You use a lot of dates, coconut, nuts, oats, different things like that to make really like decadent desserts that are much healthier than your store-bought dessert. I mean, I know there's a lot of different information on coconut oil and things like that. But again, if you're having a dessert, you're not necessarily eating it every day, but a dessert made from here is going to be a million times healthier for you than some store-bought processors. So this I've made tons of times. It's the lemon dream pie with pecans and coconut vanilla whipped cream. It is so good. I've made it so many times. My family loves it. They're non-vegan, but again, dessert, if it, great way to win people over is just make them dessert. And I've made it for company. The only thing I never did is I never made the homemade whipped cream. Instead, I'll get like a tub of Cocoa Whip instead and just defrost it and put it on top as my time saver.
Smart.
But I've made this for Thanksgiving and so many other things, but there's so many like just really delicious looking desserts in here that I highly recommend this book to. I also got it early on in my vegan journey. I was either just committed as a vegan, or I think I was like almost like, I was on that journey. So that was very instrumental and part of that transitional thing. Since you mentioned your last book, I'll just add that real quick because I know we're running out of time here. But Plant You by Carly Bodrug. She has another book that came out last year about scrappy cooking, which is like utilizing multiple ingredients. I have that book. I haven't made anything from it. I have a tendency of buying a lot of cookbooks that I like, that excite me, and I plan to use them, that it doesn't happen. Now this one, I bought this a couple years ago, and the pictures are just amazing. Like and she shows the pictures of each ingredient.
Nice.
There's like dressing, and the thing is too about this cookbook is it's all whole food, plant-based. She doesn't use oil in it. Some things could be oil optional, like she does the cauliflower wings. There we go. That's okay. This in the morning. She has like some overnight oats and pudding recipes in there if you want like tasty, decadent breakfast. But my favorite thing is, why am I not? I flipped open to. I should have saved the. She has these breakfast cookies in here that are like.
Oh, this is where they've come from. You've mentioned the breakfast cookies.
Yeah, so this is where they come from, and oh my God, why am I not finding them now? I just had this page. Anyway, they look like delicious cookies. This is so crazy. I just had the page saved, and now, here we go. Breakfast cookies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So,
yes, please.
What's that?
I said, yes, please.
Yeah. So they have these chocolate chip banana bread breakfast cookies, dreamy zucchini breakfast cookies. So there's pumpkin breakfast cookies, and then the nutrient bomb breakfast cookies. So I think you and I have been talking about, eating healthier, and I love cookies. So I think I need to make healthy cookies and eat them for breakfast.
Yeah.
So those are my choices.
I love that. And the difference I love that we didn't have the same books, because we didn't talk about which books. We knew we were coming with 2 to 3 cookbooks and we were going to share them, but we didn't talk about which ones we were going to bring. And we do have overlap, I am sure, but I love that we didn't end up bringing the same books, which honestly surprises me. And also, none of mine are like oil-free or anything like that. And yours are, or can be. And
one of them was definitely oil-free. The other two.
And it's just interesting, like the different approach. And I love that. I love how similar we are and yet also so different.
I love that too, because I feel like our differences always complement one another.
Yeah.
Right. And I this was really fun to do. And this is going to tie in with our next episode, which we're going to pre-record this week, because here in the US is Labor Day weekend next weekend, and we get Monday off from our day jobs. So we kind of want to not get up early.
Exactly.
So
and it's my birthday weekend. So
that's right. It's your birthday weekend, and you're coming over here.
Yay!
That's gonna be exciting. We'll have an adventure with our husbands. So yeah, we're gonna cook from our cookbooks, right? We're gonna make something from one of these cookbooks, maybe a couple of some things. I have to figure out what recipes I'm making. But yeah, we're gonna pre-record a cooking episode, and then we're gonna put it up next week on Monday, because me and Kimberly will hopefully be sleeping in at 7 a.m.
That's the plan.
That is the plan. Well, this was so much fun with you, Kimberly. We have
Yeah.
surpassed time.
We have.
Is there anything else you wanted to share before we wrap up?
Well, today's podcast episode that went out for Did You Bring the Hummus is with a naturopathic doctor, Jonathan Glass, Kimberly, whoa, Jonathan Glass. And it is incredible. We talk, of course, about his vegan journey, but we also talk about the violence we're seeing in the world and um, how he sees it tied to the violence that we inflict on animals. The entire episode is not super sad. So don't
Okay, well,
worry about
that's
that. But there,
that's
we talk a
good.
little bit about it, and it's not graphic either. But then we also talk about hummus, of course, and the work that Jonathan does. And it's a great episode. So
Great. That
that's
sounds
available
really
now.
nice. It's interesting that it kind of ties in with what I'm going to be posting on for the Confident Vegan, because I'm going to be pulling up the information right here. So I did an interview with Forrest Tierce. He's from Dharma Voices for the Animals, and they are an organization that promotes Buddhism, and they have a monthly meditation, but they focus on eliminating the use of animals and in eating animals, because in other communities, Buddhist communities, there a lot of food might be vegetarian, where there could be like use of dairy, and some people, still do use animal products, and so they really want to promote the essence of Buddhism by doing no harm at all. And
Mhm.
so it's a really beautiful organization. So I'm going to be posting that on Wednesday.
Nice.
So yeah. And it's also not super sad. I feel like it's important to talk about the things that happen in animals, which is something
Mhm.
I didn't do in the beginning, because for a while it was all about the food for me, even though my commitment to veganism was for myself. But now
Mhm.
that I've really been in this world for a while and talking about it, I realize it's so important to educate people about the different things that go on, and showing them the possibilities, and showing these cookbooks is a great
Mhm.
way of helping people
Yeah.
see all the possibilities.
Good stuff.
Definitely. Well, we will put our cookbooks. Kimberly, if you can, send me later pictures of your cookbooks, and
Yeah.
we can maybe add them into our reel or
Oh
something.
yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll get creative, and this way you can see a good close-up picture of them. And yeah, if you're watching the replay, let us know where you're from, and if there's another cookbook you would like us to review in the future.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. What a great conversation today.
This was great. We always have great conversations.
We do.
This one was more lighter than some of our other conversations, for
Yeah.
sure. All right. Well, I hope you have a great week, Kimberly, and I
You
hope all
too.
of you watching also have a great week. And we'll see you
Yeah.
soon. Bye for now.
Bye.